We're going to finish up in Mirza Hashem, Masechet Moed Katan. We're here on Chav Ches Amud Beis. And we finished off at Omar Rabbi Chama Bar Chanina, which is 3 lines before the end of Chav Ches Amud Beis. And just to remind ourselves, the Gemara asked Minayin li Avel Shemesiv Barosh, that when we're sitting at the table, we put the mourner, the Avel, at the head of the table. And the Gemara offered 2 possible sources for that. We derive it according to Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, from a pasuk in Eov, according to Mar Zutra, from a pasuk in Amos. Omer Rab Chama Bar Chanina, Minayin lechasan shemesiv barosh. How do we know that we're sitting at a table and there's a seuda and the chasan is there? He sits up front, shenemar, and we're now going to derive this halacha from a pasuk in Yeshayahu Hanavi, kechasan yechahen pe'er, like a bridegroom who is as splendid as a Kohen. And this pasuk, therefore, is equating a chasan with a Kohen. Ma Kohen Barosh, when we have a seating arrangement at a table, we put the Kohen at the head of the table. Af chasan Barosh, so too the chasan has to be at the head of the table. The Kohen gufa minalan. And how do you know that a Kohen should be placed at the head of the table? The Tana Debei Rabbi Yishmael v'kidashto. The Torah tells us in Vayikra Perek Chaf Aleph v'kidashto, you have to be makadesh the Kohen. And the Isam Kedoshim, and we are holy, the Kohen is holy, and he is holy to you. And that indicates that we should sanctify him l'chol davar shebekidusha liftoach barash ulevarech barash v'litol mana yafa barishon. He's going to be the head of every davar shebekidusha. He'll begin reading the Torah first. He gets the first aliyah, and when it comes to Birkas Hamazon, then we honor him to be the mizamen, and we divvy up the portions of the meal. He gets the first portion. So these are different examples and scenarios in which we're makadesh the Kohen, and just like we're makadesh the Kohen, put him at the head of the table, so too the chasan should be placed at the head of the table. Omar Rabbi Chanina, Kasha Yitzias Neshama min Aguf. When it's time for the Yitzias Neshama, it's painful. Kitzipori b'fia veshet. Or Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Kipitiri b'fia veshet. Now, the word veshet usually is biological, and it refers to a part of the breathing system. But here in this context, the word veshet means a part of a ship. And it's a hole through which they would put the mast of the ship. So what they did was they took the rope and they passed it through a ring that was attached to the mast of the ship, and then they would tie a knot at its end, and that knot would lock it into place such that if you wanted to pull out that rope, you would have to do it with a great deal of effort, because again, the knot will prevent it from being detached. And this is being used here in the Gemara as a metaphor for death. The body and the soul are attached to each other. The body is like this rope that's attached to the ship, and the body, in order to be removed from the ship, which represents the soul, you have to pull it forcefully and painfully, or as Rabbi Yochanan has it, like the cables that are used to connect 2 different ships. And once again, it's the same idea that you have to detach it by pulling it forcefully. And that's how the neshama is going to be removed from the guf forcefully. The Omar Rabbi Levi Bar Chaisa. By the way, a lot of the Mefarshim interpret that depending upon where you were in this life, that's how your death is going to be. Meaning, if you were on a higher level, you reach spiritual heights and dedicate yourself to the fulfillment of God's will, then death will be relatively easy, less painful. Rabbi Levi Bar Chaisa, Haniftar min hames. So let's say we are accompanying the mess on the final journey to be buried, and now it's time to turn the other way around. Lo yomer lo lech lishalom. Don't say you're going on the way to peace, because he's not going anywhere. Elo lech bishalom. That your situation now should be that of peace. So when a person's alive and he can perform the Ratzon Hashem in thought, deed, and action, and machshava, dibra, maisa, and he can constantly strive. He's on a journey. Lech lishalom. Lishalom means towards your goal. Once, however, he dies, he cannot achieve any kind of goals. He's already in the situation of shalom, of peace. So we don't say to someone who's already departed, go to peace, because he's not going anywhere. He's not striving in any sense. And the flip side is true. And if you're saying goodbye to a live person, then lo yomer lo lech bishalom, that's almost like a curse, as if he's at the end of his road. El lech lishalom. Keep striving, keep traveling on the road, and with this journey, hopefully you will achieve peace. Now we want to derive these halachos from psukim. Haniftar min hames lo yomer lo lech lishalom, elo lech bishalom shenemar. When Hashem tells Avram that he's going to die, be'ata tavo el avosecha bishalom. Even though Avram Avinu is still alive at this point, but he's going now. The prophecy is that he's going to die, and therefore the language here is bishalom. Haniftar min hachai, and here we're going to take a look at a different parsha. Lo yomer lo lech bishalom, el lech lishalom. Shrei David sha'omar li Avshalom. Now here, David, I don't think it was deliberate, but he made a big mistake, because in a sense he cursed Avshalom, his own son. Why? Because he said to him, lech lishalom, which is the blessing or the language that's appropriate for a dead person. And immediately after David said those words to Avshalom, lech lishalom, Avshalom had very long hair, and as he was riding on the mule, the hair caught onto the tree, and then Yoav killed him. So it was, in effect, lech bishalom, which is exactly what David had said to Avshalom. Holach v'nitla, he was hung. Yisro Omar LeMoshe lech lishalom. Yisro blessed Moshe Rabbeinu with the words lech lishalom. And you're always on the way towards your goal. And therefore, holach v'tzliach, these words of Yisro came to fruition as a bracha to Moshe. V'yom Rabbi Levi kol hayotzi b'beis hakneses lebeis hamedrash. If he goes from a house of prayer to a house of study, or the reverse, when he finishes learning in Beis HaMedrash, he goes to the Beis HaKnesses to pray, Zoche u'mekabel pnei Shechina. That's the ultimate achievement of integrating both Tefillah and Torah. And that's Kabbalas pnei Shechina. Shenemar, as the Pasuk tells us in Tehillim, Yelchu michayil al chayil, yeroeh el halokim b'tzion. They will go from chayil to chayil. Chayil is a word that indicates multitudes, rabim. So you should go from one rabim, which is in the Beis HaKnesses, where people gather together for tefillah, to another chayil, which is the Beis HaMedrash, where people gather together to study Torah, and that's going from chayil to chayil. Such a person will merit to appear before Hashem b'tzion. Omer Rabbi Chia bar Ashi, Omer Rav Talmidei Chachamim lehem menucha afilu olam haba. Now, what does this mean that a Talmid Chacham doesn't have rest in the world to come? I mean, isn't that what olam haba is about? You know, now you can take it easy. You're finished with all the tirdas of life. But apparently, even after one's death, there still is an ongoing study of God's Torah. And the dead, the deceased, toil in the study of Torah. And that has an impact on the generation. So that Adikim v'nisasam kruyim chayim, even after they die, they're still considered alive in the sense that they have an impact on uplifting the generation. Shenemar yelchu michal chayil yira el elokim. Adjon alecha v'elu megalchim v'soliklan Masechet Moed Katan.